Here we are, Coffee with Bob. Today, I have the great pleasure of sitting with Nyles Courchesne. Nyles, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Bob.
Yeah, so you're with the law firm of Nyles Courchesne,
Right.
yes?
Yes, that is correct, yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
So Nyles, what we typically do on the show is we ask our guests, tell us a little bit about your path and your path to getting into the law business. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, well, I'm from Western Massachusetts. I went to Holyoke High School.
Okay.
I then went and I went to college at Boston University, and I spent probably the first 4 years of my education running away from becoming a lawyer because I was from a law family. My father was an attorney and practiced for 50 years plus in Western Mass in Holyoke, and I wanted to go into advertising. So I was an advertising major. I worked in advertising for a summer at McCann Erickson in London, England.
Wow.
And then I don't know, it just pulled me back in. Next thing I knew, I was working at a law school, and I decided that I wanted to do something that would help people and be a little bit more impactful. Maybe in my mind, I think you can balance any career and do a lot of things, but there's something about being a lawyer. So I went to Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, which was a pretty competitive school at the time. Early 90s, it was very competitive. We were going through a little bit of a recession at that time. So I found out I was going to be waitlisted at Boston University. The Dean of Admissions, I spoke with her. I worked in her office, and she said, this is a great school. Try Case Western Reserve in Cleveland. And they accepted me, and I met the love of my life out there. So my wife Dora, and she, I have no regrets about that path. It just brought me back for family, etc. But I really love what I do. Yeah.
So we know Dora very well. Dora's a sales professional with our company. Wonderful, wonderful person. But beyond that, everyone in the company basically loves working with you, and that's real straight up honest. So thank you for being so close to our real estate family here. Let's talk a little bit about the closing process, because we have a lot of first-time home buyers that we work with, and buyers in general, who want to know, how do they do it? How do they get through the process of purchasing a home? I know there's a lot of factors involved, realtors and insurance people and mortgage people, but let's talk a little bit about that.
So where the attorneys step into the process, it really varies. And, one of the roles that I like to take on is the role of counselor. You hear about attorneys being called a counselor. And I'd rather be asked, what should I do, versus, okay, I signed this already, what did I do? And now take me through the process. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. So when contracts come over, my office, it's our part of our program that we call every client. We review, as much as we can, line for line in the contract with them, going through all the sticking points. I just want to make sure in that conversation that I'm hearing, understanding, and that these terms, they're going to be able to abide by them, and it's what they want. And so that's a really important part of our process. Trying to get out of the client exactly what their expectations are, and make sure that the contract meets those expectations and they're going to be happy. So
your communication skills with everyone here has been fantastic. So that's a huge attribute to have, especially with brand new people. So when a contract gets signed, you take it over, you review it, and then you start working back and forth with some of the realtors in the company and mortgage companies. Tell us more about that.
Right. So the contract review period is when we're first involved. And then if something comes up during the contingency phases of the contract, so there's typically a 10-day inspection period, and there may be an issue that comes up where an agent or a buyer or seller, and they say, okay, well, I'm worried about the language here. Can we write this aspect up? I'd like you to get eyes on it and help us. So we will jump in at that point. But that's a rare thing. A lot of times these are more standard issues that come up, and the agents are well equipped to handle them. And we're just monitoring. Oh, there was a little price change, there was a credit, there was a moving the date, and we don't really need to be involved in those changes. But once in a while we do. And sometimes there'll be a lender issue that comes up that, you know what, they actually need an attorney to try to hunt down a certified copy of something that's in the person's background. It can happen. But usually we're pretty hands off. And then once we get a green light that, all right, we're fine with inspections, it looks like lending's going forward, let's get the title examined. Let's check the taxes, what's due to the municipality. And we order in Massachusetts, we order a limited survey to make sure that all of our buildings and improvements are located on our property that we're buying, and our neighbors are not, none of their improvements are encroaching onto our property. So those are the three big things that we're checking at the end. And we'll report those issues to the buyer. We keep the agent informed, and then sometimes we have to ask the seller to do something to correct one of those issues.
So that's fantastic. That's great information. And then basically the closing happens. And so what happens at that point? You sit down with the new buyer or the buyer, and tell us more about that.
Sure. So that can be a really stressful day. We try to provide the couple of things that the buyer is looking for. So they're going to want to know, how much do I have to bring to the closing? So that's a constant thing, and we want to make sure that they have that as soon as we have the information. And they have to bring a bank check. And 1 out of 100 people show up with a personal check, and so we try to be real clear about that, because it's so stressful. We just don't want people to feel that way. And they'll have had to do a number of things that morning. They often do a walkthrough of their property. We want to make sure that everything's the way it was supposed to be. Any repairs, or there's been no damage to the property. So we want to go over the walkthrough experience with them. They have to have, sometimes run out and got their bank check. And there's often movers involved, and there's a lot of other things going on in their minds. So we're trying to get them through under an hour of signing and reviewing especially the important pieces to make sure everything is correct, and that they're not going to have any issues. And we have to get them on record. So we record electronically. We try to schedule the other attorney to bring the deed to the closing, and we hand them a check. And usually within an hour or two from the closing, we're on record, and the buyer can now move into their property.
At the registry of deeds.
Right. We do. So we can do it electronically from our office. But everything is going to the registry of deeds electronically. And it's a little, it's a tight time. The registry closes at 4. Kind of need to get that on record by, got to be starting to get that on record by 3:30. And we had to close for 45 minutes to an hour. So now you're at, 2, you better be walking in by 2:30. So, how many closings can we do in a day? It's all the electronics and the hoops that we jump through now. It is a process, so it's important to work with, a team that's got it together. No surprises at the walkthrough. Everybody's got their information as early as possible, and we got to get through that process together.
So it's great, and thank you so much for sitting down with us today. We have a great team of professionals who I know work with you very closely, like I said, but we also have a great team of transaction coordinators that work very closely with your staff, providing documents back and forth, because it's a team effort, and this, we all work together, lenders, insurance, attorneys, and our sales professionals here. So Niles, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. But there's so much more we can talk about in the future. So let's come up with a couple other topics. I'll have you come back on the show. That would be wonderful.
That sounds great.
And let's have a great 2025. Thanks for being one of our partners.
All right, thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.